Everyone, this week the slideshow is going to be about the Bridgestone versus IBM situation. And when I was first reading about this case this week, it was a lot of money involved and a lot of drama as well. But I actually think it really connects to everything we've been learning so far in the course. A little bit of background and overview about the situation is Bridgestone is actually a really big tire company. They're so big that research says they process about one customer's order every second, which is insane. Back in 2009, they bought IBM to change their system using the SAP software. The project at the time was supposed to cost a certain amount of money, but it ran for about 3 years, and in the end, uh, IBM charged $80 million, which was not what they were supposed to charge. It was 30 million more than what they originally agreed on. And because of this, Bridgestone was considerably upset about this. So they sued IBM for fraud, misrepresentation, and also for breach of contract. So the first takeaway I had from this was the idea of conflict of interest. We learned about when an IT worker's personal interest kind of competes with the client's interest. It really messes with like objectivity. And I think that is exactly what's happening here. IBM was supposed to be coming in as like a neutral expert in the situation, but they allegedly had every reason to make the project sound durable and really cheap in order to sell it to the client just to win the contract and to like make that money. But they really shouldn't have done that because that was not the truth. That's not how much it was actually going to cost. This like kind of shifted how I think about the vendor client relationship. A contract alone, like I said, a contract alone doesn't just guarantee ethical behavior. I feel like it should be more explicitly stated so both parties, at least how they're gonna ethically behave, so both parties have less miscommunication. The second thing I want to talk about was really trust. This actually kind of surprised me in this. In the books, Reynolds says that successful IT outsourcing and projects are built on a solid foundation of trust between like the client and the vendors. So I used to think like IT projects failed because of technical issues like not knowing how to do the work or not doing the work properly, like bad software or like missed deadlines. But with this case, I saw like a whole different perspective, and I saw like some of the failures can actually be relational because once IBM allegedly started to misrepresent things to the company, trust was kind of gone, and because the trust was gone, the whole project started to fall apart. So the first article that I found was called Trends and Ethical Issues in Business Outsourcing. This article kind of looked at business outsourcing and found that even when it's profitable, it usually creates a lot of ethical issues because of things like misrepresentation and not really being transparent with the product that's being received. Um, they use real companies and real like actual situations in the world to explain how vendors usually put the profit over like their ethics and the responsibility they have to uphold to the companies they are selling to, which is exactly what happened with the IBM situation. The next article I found was Relational Dynamics in Information Technology Outsourcing. This article was also written in 2024, and it reviews 127 different studies in the IT outsourcing relationship. And what it found out was that trust, transparency, and honest communications is really what makes or breaks these partnerships. And without these things, these partnerships are just not going to work. And when those breaks down, whether the company is being opportunistic or hiding information, um, it's just not going to work if they're not being trustworthy and being truthful and having an even relationship throughout the whole contract. So now is the biblical integration. So for this, I found Proverbs 11:3, which says, "The integrity of the upright guides them, but the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity." And I think the word duplicity is the most important in this context because IBM was allegedly presenting a version of the project that wasn't really true just to get the business contract, but that really ended in them getting a lawsuit. So I think it's the verse is really saying what goes around comes around, and when you act without integrity, when you do bad, bad's gonna come back to you. But when you do good, good's gonna come back to you. And for me personally, with God, this means that the Lord is telling us not to be fake and to be real, not just with ethics, because that's how He expects us to live within the integrity as good followers of His word. So, so for the personal reflection, this was kind of similar to a situation that happened to me in RTC, but it's kind of different. We were doing a team challenge and we were behind the time limit, and we had to report like our end goal to our leadership. And my team just wanted to kind of fake it and just be like, "Oh yeah, we did this," and then try to figure it out later, or just go along with the lie. Which I didn't really feel okay with it because ROTC is trying to teach us integrity first, so I have to kind of go against them. And I feel like this was really similar to the Bridgestone situation because if someone in the team kind of went against the whole contract and the whole lying thing, I think if someone had been like the voice of reason, the voice of integrity, it would have all gone a little smoother. In conclusion, this Bridgestone versus IBM case, I think is a really good example of what really happens to IT relationships in the real world when we lose our ethical foundation. I personally think trust matters, transparency also matters, and conflicts of interest, they should really be addressed, and everything should be written in the contract. Like Proverbs 11:3 says, we have to have integrity because it's what sustains us, not only as Christians, but as human beings. And really, duplicity and being fake is going to catch up to you eventually. And that was my main takeaway from this. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.